Would you like to have a better sense of your own self? A better sense of your own agency, your own power, your own ability to choose how you're feeling, to be able to identify the strength in your core and also the peace, the quiet, the silence in your core? Would it be nice to have a better sense of your own self-assuredness, your own self-confidence? If so, that's what I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to talk about something called boundaries. Okay, now boundaries are very popular these days, and I'm very suspicious of anything which is kind of faddish. But I do think boundaries are a very useful concept to consider, even if you can read about them in the Guardian newspaper. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about what boundaries are, what they're not, how you can build up a good sense of your own boundary, what is a valid sense of your own boundary, and how you can maintain that sense of strong boundaries in the presence of stuff going on outside of you. So if that's of interest, watch on. Okay, what is a boundary? I don't think a boundary is a real thing. Okay, for me, a boundary is a construct of the mind, a label for a felt sense, which means that everybody's concept of boundaries can be different and they're all equally valid. The reason why I care is because your concept of your boundary, because it's a label, it's fluid. You can choose your perceptions towards it. You can choose the degree to which you give it importance or not. And so it's a good way of understanding who and what you are in the moment. And I love this idea of getting out of your conscious chatter and into your felt sense by giving into a sense of observing it. More concretely, what is a boundary? Imagine that you have a sense of the edge of yourself. That might be an energy. It might be the edge of your skin. It might be the edge of the room you're in or the house you're in. It might be a sense of what it is to feel safe. I don't know what that is to you, but if you can get a sense of what is the edge of you, and inside that are all the things that you have a degree of control over, a degree of power over. So the things that are really deep in your core are your thoughts, feelings, heartfelt beliefs, values, the things inside of you that feel non-negotiable. And then as you kind of expand out towards your boundary, the things that are important to you, maybe your goals, maybe your thoughts and feelings about people that are close to you. When you get to your boundary, that's the sort of area where your ability to choose to control what's going on at that level is reducing. There's a friction between something which is important to you, but the amount of influence that you can exert upon it. And then when you get beyond your boundary, you're into things which are either still important to you but you have no control over or little control over, or things that actually you don't really care about. So they are outside of your boundary. And the reason why this is very important is because it's a stoical approach in actual fact. What are the things that you have invested a lot of energy in that actually are outside of your control? And similarly, what are the things inside of your control that you're not particularly valuing, that you're not aware of the agency that you have inside of yourself? And so when you understand where this boundary fits, you get a better sense of yourself, you get a better sense of your understanding of who and what it is that you are and what you're capable of and what is beyond that. And that can bring a sense of relief and it can bring a sense of composure. But the whole thing is a story. Okay, so my sense of what my boundary is might be completely different to yours, and they're both equally right or wrong or indifferent. Okay, How do you build up a strong sense of your own boundary? Because when you have a strong sense of your own boundary, you have a sense of self. There is a sort of a bedrock of weight, of gravity to yourself. You are less easily blown by the wind of life. If you're able to give this your full attention, so you're not driving, you're not operating machinery, you can listen to my voice, pay full attention to it, and that'll be safe to do so. If so, then close your eyes. And maybe you can get a sense of your skin. Maybe you can notice the temperature of the air surrounding your skin. Maybe you can notice your posture. Maybe you can notice the chair that you're sat upon, or whatever furniture it is that you're against. Maybe you can even notice the texture of the clothing that surrounds you. Maybe you can get a sense of your hair. Maybe you can notice your breathing. Notice as you breathe in, and the temperature of the air that you're breathing in. Lungs expanding, chest expanding, belly, diaphragm expanding. And then breathing out and noticing the difference in the temperature of the air that you breathe out to how it was when you breathed in. Notice the changing of your body, diaphragm, chest. And perhaps you can already notice a sense of stillness. Maybe you're more still than you were just a couple of minutes ago. And maybe you can bring your attention to what it is that you are noticing. And then I want you to bring your attention outside of that felt sense of your skin, out to the periphery. Even if you've got your eyes closed, maybe you can get a sense of how the room that you're in looks and feels. Maybe you can sort of brush your attention out in directions so that you can feel it touching other pieces of furniture wherever you are. Get a sense of the room, get a sense of what's outside of the room, get a sense of the world, get a sense of traffic moving, people walking, people chattering, people that you're close to, people that you don't know. And a sense of you sitting within all of that. And then bring your attention back inside of yourself and bring your attention to the things that are important to you, that you have choices over. The inner chatter. Maybe your thoughts, maybe your feelings. The things that are important to you, your actions, your goals, the things that you place your energy upon. And then focus your attention on the boundary of that, the boundary of where that sense of influence, of power, of choice sits. And that might be at your skin, it might be beyond your skin, I don't know, but maybe you'll have your own perception of that, but get an idea. For me, it's sort of like an energy field that surrounds me, which actually goes beyond my skin. And that's the juncture between the things that I hold important, where I have lots of control over, and the things that I hold important, hold dear, but that I have less control over. And then get a sense of what's outside of that boundary, the things that I still hold dear, but that I have less control, little control, no control over. And then even further, maybe the things that I simply don't really care about or don't think about, and that I have no control over. And so as you notice all of that, you're getting a sense of agency, a sense of choice as to what it is that you have capabilities, that you have influence upon. And the things that no matter how much energy you expend upon thinking and ruminating about, you basically have no control over. And maybe whilst you do that, you can notice the things that are outside of your boundary. That in actual fact you do have a sense of agency about, and that you should be bringing inside your boundary. And similarly, there might be things that you notice inside your boundary that actually you don't have any control over. And so much as though it might be wonderful to have them inside of your boundary, they don't really belong there. And if you can imagine that boundary as a sort of a porous sense of energy, or maybe your skin and the epidermis, and you have the flow of air, of liquid, choosing what you bring in within the boundary of your sense of self, and pushing out by a mechanism that you choose the things which you notice inside of your boundary that don't really belong there. Other people's thoughts, other people's words, other people's actions. So as you do this, as you notice what is inside of your boundary, and you ask yourself, does that belong there? Is this important to me, and do I have choices? Do I have an ability to change that, to influence that? That belongs inside my boundary. But if there are things that you realize you actually have little control over, just using your imagination, find a way of pushing those beyond your boundary so that they're out. They're still there, they're still important, but you can see and you can label them more correctly that you don't have control over them. And similarly, notice if there are things outside of your boundary that really belong inside. And that could be your actions, your feelings, the way that you think. They might be being influenced by others, by things that are outside of your control, but that are having an impact upon things which belong inside your boundary. And so if that's the case, if you're being swayed by the wind effectively, you can, using your imagination, you can bring those things inside your boundary. And the more you do this, the better your sense of self, the better your sense of composure, the better the sense of the bedrock inside of you of what it is to be you. And as you do that, as you still yourself, and you can open your eyes if you've had your eyes closed, you can find a sense of peace, of quietness, of solidity at your core. Maybe also a sense of relief, in actual fact, a sense of settling, because things feel like they belong more, that they've slotted into place, that there is an order to your sense of what it is to be you. And so the more that you focus on this idea of your boundary, and you notice the things that come up during the course of a day, well, is that inside my control? Is that outside of my control? If it's inside my control, bring it inside my boundary and take another step. Find a way. I've got 1,001 videos now about different ways that you can choose your thoughts and your feelings and all that kind of stuff, taking action. So if it belongs inside your boundary, make sure it's there. so that you can take appropriate action. If it's something which is important but you have no control over whatsoever, make sure it's outside of a boundary, and make sure that you appreciate that even though it's important, no amount of thinking and ruminating and getting frustrated is going to change that, because the keys to the kingdom are in somebody else's hands. So it gives you a sense of what it's worth shining the torch of your intention upon, and what frankly is futile, what it's going to give you the best bang for your buck, right? The most impact for the energy that you expend upon it. If you're going to use a scarce commodity like your willpower, where is it most valid to be used? So that gets you a sense, an understanding of you, of your boundary, okay? But then over the course of a day, over the course of your life, stuff occurs, right, beyond your boundary that you have no control over, that you have no choice. Life goes on. And some of those things are going to have an impact upon you. Some of them are going to affect you emotionally, physically, psychologically, maybe even subconsciously. And you're going to notice that, okay? Now, the way that we believe that the conscious mind works is actually less of a choosing animal and more of like a monitor on a TV screen, in actual fact. So there's all these things going on beneath our awareness, and some of which come up and appear on the screen of our internal monitor. So we become aware of them, we notice them. Yeah, but in actual fact, maybe they come up to awareness because there's a conflict going on beneath the surface, and so they need another input, another voice. You know, we're not quite sure about exactly what's going on, but it's more a case that things filter up to consciousness rather than that we're choosing everything that we're thinking about. So the world's going to do what the world's going to do. Some of that is going to impact us. Some of it's going to impact us in a massive way, others in a more subtle way. But when you have a sense of your boundary, when you have a sense of your core, a sense of your ability to find your own peace, then when you get knocked off course by these things, which inevitably occurs, it occurs to everybody, you're aware. And so rather than just reacting, rather than just, the wind comes along and you just bend in the wind, because you notice, you have the ability to reflect. You know where your core is. You know that you've been influenced, that you've been pushed off track by something. But you have the ability to pause and then respond, to observe what is going on, observe your choices, and respond accordingly. And so that's where your sense of self-assuredness comes from, right? Because the world's going to do what the world is going to do. But when you have that ability to notice it, to intuit, to re-establish your core, to see how it fits with your needs and values, your wants, your fears, whether it fits inside your psyche, then you have the ability to choose. So what's happening is you're giving yourself an expanded ability to choose. Your range of options is expanding, and therefore you get a sense of control. You get a sense of choice. You get a sense of agency. You get a sense of personal power. Just from this metaphor of boundaries, you're getting a better sense of what it is to be you, where your power lies and where it doesn't lie, where it's useful to expend your energy and where it's absolutely futile to expend your energy. And therefore, you kind of order and prioritize your sense of your abilities, your sense of your understandings, your sense of where you're going to expend your energy, the choices that you're making, the times that you're not making choices and things that are just occurring. And the whole thing gives you a massive boost to all of you. Do you feel more stable? What I'm going to do, I'll do a longer podcast on the topic of boundaries, and I'll offer in that a hypnotic induction to help you with that visualization process of establishing and maintaining your boundaries. So if this is something which is of interest, go have a look at that. All right, I'll stop there because we're quite far in. All right, cheers, bye.